Every year, billions of dollars vanish into the hands of scammers who operate from laptops, internet cafes, and even quiet bedrooms across Nigeria.
Sunny watched in horror as her life savings disappeared before her eyes. All her hard work and sacrifice gone in just 30 minutes, and there was nothing she could do.
According to the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center 2023 report, Americans lost over $12.5 billion to cybercrime, with Nigeria ranked among the top 10 sources of international scam operations worldwide.
Nigerian bank account,
$15 million.
For 3 years, Vivian from California thought she was in mutual love with an American engineer working overseas. He called her every day with sweet talks, he cared for her and promised her a future. When an emergency came up like a hospital bill, taxes, or even business deals, Vivian sent money to help her so-called lover. Unfortunately, by the time she discovered the truth, she had lost more than $600,000 to Thomas. The very man she thought she loved never existed. But why Nigeria? Why does a country known for its music, culture, and energy also carry one of the darkest reputations online? Is it poverty, corruption, greed, or something much more deeper than we can see? Well, in today's video, we are going to look into the rise of the Nigerian scam industry, how it began, why it's thriving, and what it's costing the country today. I'm Shalom, and this is ShallyTech. Let's dive right in. Nigeria is the largest economy in Africa, blessed with oil, natural gas, and a young, ambitious population. But the reality of life is very, very different. Now, imagine waking up to constant blackouts because electricity barely works. Imagine universities shutting down for months because lecturers are on strike. Imagine streets with terrible roads without proper drainage systems. Roads plagued with potholes which damage vehicles, cause accidents, and lead to floods during rainy seasons. A country where wealth flowed out of the ground but never into the hands of the people. In 1993, General Sani Abacha seized power in a military coup. To the world, he was just another strong man promising stability, but behind closed doors, Abacha and his circle were quietly pulling off one of the biggest acts of state robbery in modern history. Now, between 1993 and 1998, General Sani Abacha embezzled about $5.5 billion. Now, you might ask me, what did they do? Well, they approved millions of fake contracts worth hundreds of millions. They signed off national security expenses that never existed. The Central Bank of Nigeria was ordered to hand over cash, sometimes millions of dollars at a time. And where did all that money go? Well, it went into over 140 bank accounts scattered across Europe, the US, and beyond. Now, by the time Abacha died unexpectedly in 1998, investigators believed he and his family had siphoned away at least $5 billion US, and by 1999, Nigeria ranked as one of the most corrupt countries in the world. But this was just the beginning.
In terms of corruption, Nigeria has a reputation, as you understand very well, for very massive corruption.
By the early 2000s, Nigeria's economy was on its knees. 53.5% of Nigerians lived below the international poverty line. Poverty rates were climbing, families were doing whatever it took to survive, unemployment rates rose steadily to a staggering 25%. Graduates were leaving universities by tens of thousands only to find out that there was no job waiting for them at all. And by 2020, almost 100 million Nigerians were living on less than $1 per day. Now, imagine being 28 years old with a degree your parents spent and sacrificed everything for, only for you to sit at home for years with nothing to show for it. Well, that frustration slowly hardened into something else, and for a new generation, there was only one way forward: hustle. Now, hustle in this term means doing whatever it takes, whether positive or negative, to make a living. Many young Nigerians turned to hustling, from formal side jobs to street trades, and most of them would do just about anything to survive. And for some, it even meant chasing a shortcut. And unfortunately, that's when fraud stopped being just a crime and it started being an obsession. a new kind of hustle began to spread. People began to send letters across the world telling stories of dead relatives, hidden fortunes, and business opportunities that sounded too good to be true. Now, these were the famous 419 letters, named after the section of Nigerian's criminal code that actually outlawed fraud. Now, this is how the whole scam thing worked. Now, the sender usually requests for help facilitating an illegal transfer of money, claiming to be a government official, military official, a bank officer, or business executive who needs access to a foreign account to transfer money. Now, in exchange, the sender offers the recipient a commission. Sometimes this commission ranges up to several millions of dollars. Now, the scammers then request money to pay for some of the costs associated with the transfer, such as taxes and legal fees to government officials. But the moment the recipient sends that requested fee and the scammers receive the money, they either disappear immediately or even try to milk some more funds from the recipient with claims of additional issues. This formula was very simple but also very devastating. Just pretend to be someone else and then build trust with strangers thousands of miles away. Once that is done and the trust has been built, request for money for plane tickets, medical bills, investments, etc. And just like that, a new industry was born.
Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. All I need to do is just create a fake profile. I text them, they respond to me. I take my time to talk to them, and it makes it easy for them to fall in love with me.
He used this Nigerian manual on how to lure women in.
It's a format. It's a step-by-step instruction on how you can start a conversation with someone you're meeting online for the first time.
Now, fast forward some years later, the old 419 letters actually began to fade because, of course, technology was changing, and with this change, a new tool that would forever change the game in the scam industry arrived: the internet. Cyber cafes sprung up everywhere, and for just a token, you could now sit for hours in front of a screen connected to the world, and that was where the game evolved. Now, what started as clumsy business emails progressed into something much more dangerous and personal: romance scams. Now, romance scams weren't about sending mass emails and random emails, they were about intimacy. In 2022, the Global Anti-Scam Alliance estimated that romance scams alone cost about $1.3 billion in losses globally that year.
One woman says she was taken in by the so-called romance scam. 56,000 people fell victim to it last year alone. NBC 15's Ashley Knight tells us the story of one woman who was taken advantage of by not one, but 3 different scammers, all claiming to be in love with her.
This is the third man Bonnie Libhart formed a virtual relationship with over the last 8 years, sending pictures back and forth, praying together, and talking about a life together.
I will love you till my last breath.
But all 3 men lived overseas and started asking for money months into the relationship.
Now, this is how this romance scam strategy actually worked. A scammer would pretend to be anyone, maybe an American engineer, a soldier stationed abroad, or even a widow looking for love. Now, the victims they target were often lonely, vulnerable, and searching for connection or sometimes love. Now, these scammers would actually spend weeks, sometimes months, carefully building trust. They would chat with them every day, they would send fake photos saying the right words until the victim was convinced that everything was real. Now, once the scammer senses that the victim is convinced, they go ahead and drop the bomb. They start asking for money for plane tickets to come and visit their supposed lover, money for a sick relative, or even for a business deal. But unfortunately, once that request is met, these scammers capitalize on that connection that they built, and they keep on sending more requests. Some victims end up sending thousands, others sent their life savings, and in the end, they lost not just their money, but their trust, their dignity, and sometimes even their lives.
I do no banking, no internet, no email, nothing. Basically what you call computer illiterate.
I was just starting to move forward after the death of my husband, and this is just, put me right back there, stress-wise, anxiety, everything. It's just myself, and I've got my 3 kids, and this money was going to help us have our lifestyle together, build ourselves back together, and that's been taken away from me now.
By the 2000s, romance scams were everywhere and they were incredibly profitable. In 2018 alone, Americans reported losing over $143 million to romance fraud, the highest losses of any scam industry, and Nigeria was one of the main sources of this scam. These scammers were named Yahoo Boys, and far from being shunned, they began to become celebrated. Songs were written about them, communities respected them, and for many young Nigerians, the Yahoo lifestyle became something to aspire to. It wasn't just fraud anymore, it was now a culture. But when fraud becomes a culture and when scammings become a source of pride, what does it do to the soul of a country? The world began to notice.
In terms of corruption, Nigeria has a reputation.
And international headlines began to refer to Nigeria as the scam capital of the world, and so the government had to respond. Nigeria created the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, and its mission was very clear: hunt down internet fraudsters, prosecute financial crimes, and restore the country's image. At first, the EFCC made very bold moves. They arrested high-profile fraudsters, they raided internet cafes, they even launched public campaigns to warn the public about scams. In 2020, they arrested 1,502 suspected internet fraudsters, and between 2003 and 2019, the EFCC recovered over 1.6 trillion naira in stolen assets. But for every arrest, new scammers emerged. The fraud industry was spreading faster and the EFCC could not stop it, and that's when the fight took a darker turn. Now, in the late 2000s, the Nigerian police created a special tactical squad called SARS, the Special Anti-Robbery Squad. Now, on paper, SARS wasn't designed to fight internet fraud, it was meant to fight violent crime. But in reality, many SARS officers started focusing on targeting Yahoo Boys. They would patrol the streets, stop young men with laptops or flashy clothes and accuse them of fraud. Sometimes they made real arrests, and on other occasions it became extortion, beating, harassment, or even killings.
What we are saying is, not all Nigerian youths are criminals. And we are saying that the approach to even source for criminals should be a docile approach. We don't want people to harass us. We don't want people to say, bring out your phone. We want to check what is in your phone. We don't want people to say, because you're putting on thread, you're a criminal. We don't want people to say, because you have bed, you're a criminal. We don't want people to stop us on the road to harass us. We are delegating for a peaceful, a calm, a docile approach. But sir, you have a son at home. You have a daughter at home. How would you feel when you come back home and then you hear a news that an officer of the Nigerian police force has shot your son dead? How will you feel, sir, that your daughter was embarrassed? How will you feel?
Now, the fight against fraud had now spiraled into something else. On one side, a government desperate to clean its image, and on the other side, police forces using fraud as an excuse to brutalize Nigerian youth. The battle against Yahoo Boys had now created a new monster. The price of fraud was never paid by scammers alone. For every Yahoo Boy flashing wealth, there were hundreds of ordinary Nigerians paying the price for their actions. Now, internationally, Nigeria's reputation sank. To many outsiders, every email from a Nigerian became suspicious. Every Nigerian name became a red flag. Visa applications were denied. Nigerians' visa refusal rates for B1 and B2 visas rose to 60%, one of the highest globally. Business deals collapsed. Students who wanted nothing more than to study abroad were treated with suspicion simply because of where they came from. An entire country's image was stained by the actions of a few. And inside Nigeria, the cost was even higher. The EFCC chased fraudsters, but the streets told a different story. The police, especially SARS, used fraud as an excuse to target almost anyone. Amnesty International 2020 documented 82 cases of police brutality under SARS linked to extortion and profiling of youth with laptops. Young men were stopped for carrying laptops, for using iPhones, and for simply driving nice cars. Some were beaten, some were arrested with no evidence, and some never came back home. Now, innocent Nigerians were suffering not just from fraud itself, but from the war against it. For victims abroad, the cost was money, heartbreak, and broken trust. But for Nigeria, the cost was something far more deeper. A generation growing up under suspicion, a country fighting to prove that one bad egg doesn't make the whole crate bad, and lives lost in a system that blurred the line between justice and abuse. But if this is the damage, then what is the way forward? Can Nigeria ever escape the shadow of scams? Nigeria today is not the Nigeria of the 90s. The country has changed. The internet that once fueled scams is now powering tech startups, global businesses, and creative industries. Over 120 tech hubs now operate in Nigeria, employing tens of thousands. Nigerian music now dominates the world. Nollywood has become a global giant, and a new generation is rewriting the story of what it actually means to be Nigerian. Now, scams haven't really disappeared, and Yahoo Boys of course still exist, and victims abroad still lose billions every year. But the fight has also evolved. The EFCC still continues to make arrests, and international agencies now collaborate to track fraud across borders.
Economic and Financial Crimes Commission has extradited a wire fraud suspect, Adedumola Badegeshi, to the United States, where he is wanted in a case of conspiracy to commit wire fraud and money laundering.
And in 2020, after years of brutality, Nigerians rose up in the EndSARS protests, demanding that the war on fraud stop being an excuse for abuse. It was a moment that showed the world something important, that Nigeria is not just a den of scammers. It's a country filled with lots of potential, and its people actually want a change. So why are there so many scammers in Nigeria? The truth is actually complicated. Poverty, corruption, broken systems, and yes, personal greed. But only focusing on the scammers misses the bigger story, because for every Yahoo boy, there are millions of young Nigerians who are hustling honestly, building, creating, and pushing the country forward. They are actually the true majority, and they are the true Nigeria. And perhaps the real question isn't why are so many scammers in Nigeria, but how long the world will keep defining Nigeria by them. If you found this video helpful and interesting, I have more of it on this channel, and a sub to the channel will be very, very interesting. See you guys on the next one. Cheers.